Good morning. Happy weekend, Saturday. Anyway, I'm sitting here in my mama's chair, and this chair was from 1952 that I'm sitting in. There's a lot of old stuff in this house. Anyway, so I have been here for a couple years trying to clean up and find homes for a lot of her stuff. She still lives in her home. And we are here so she can continue living in her home. And I have to start off each day. I will be patient and I will be kind and I will be, calm. Any of you helping your aging patient, aging patients? I feel like she's a patient. I feel like, what's the difference between a patient and patience? No, I know the difference. Anyway, in life, you will be challenged at many times to be patient. Anyway, so my cousin is in town and she's visiting her mommy and daddy, my aunt and uncle, and she's with her guy. And they came over yesterday. It was so exciting. And helped her boyfriend did a whole lot of helping in the garage, up in the rafters. My dad and my mom had something definitely in common, that they save everything. And what was so funny is my mom was going through something in her room. She has her report cards from when she was like a little girl in elementary school up until part of high school. And they're kind of funny to look at. I didn't realize what a stellar student my mom was in like 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, I think. Just awesome grades. I'm going to show her this, Yeah. I don't think that she enjoyed school. But all her, like, what was amazing is all of her, when they talk about your behavior or what kind of, how your social skills are, all that, all of them were like, she's pleasant in the class, she's, friendly to other students. They like her, all this. So it was kind of like baffling. I was really surprised to see the, I don't know, maybe the grading system was harder, probably was, but she did pass, she was passed along. She did not she did get like a couple F's, but I was really surprised. And so she was laughing about it because I didn't know. So I told her, you need to send it, you need to show, I have one sister that likes to look at stuff. I told her, send that to her, like send her in the mail. Maybe we can pass it along. I never knew, I knew that my mom and my dad, both as adults, went to the adult, somewhere education or something somewhere, or they got their high school diplomas. They did not, neither one of them graduated from high school. And it wasn't because, my dad, it was like just what he was growing up in, it was just, he joined the Marine Corps at 17 years old. Just, that's like, World War II was going on. So that just says what life was like for him. And my mom is a different story, but I think I'm trying to understand, I know her generation, because she would have graduated, I think like maybe in 1954, I want to say, or around that. She would have been that class, like class of 54 or 1955. But I don't think a lot was expected maybe in the school she was at for girls, to like, you're going to go on to college or whatever. Maybe it was expected that they were going to be, most likely, housewives and all that. But then I saw that she didn't do too well in home economics either. So that just cracked me up, because I just pictured my mom like, she's smart, don't get me wrong. She's smart and very creative. And she was not the least bit interested in school. But I did notice in penmanship, she got an A, and she does have beautiful handwriting. But yeah. So anyway, I found this book. So back to the garage. I found this book, and it's Your Health. And it's from 1947. So this was in a box in the garage. And there's like, how neurotic are you? Men resent ball and chain wives. Dr. Sadler's reducing diet. How alcoholics get that way, the mercy of cesarean operations, truth about psychosomatic medicine, vitamins and high blood pressure, and the mental side of asthma. So, yeah, I thought I would read some of this. So if you go onto my channel and you're coming across this or whatever, I'm going to just read a article at a time if you want to listen to something. I like reading stuff from the past. We're living in times where you read stuff and you think that's just how things are, whatever. Like, this is what's going on in the world and this is what doctors are saying, this and that. Sometimes when you look back at what was being written and what was said, and the changes that have happened. It's just, think about it. There's always been these changes and developments and stuff. And it's not necessarily that we are getting smarter, but hopefully we are, but we do not know everything, And so let's see what this says about your health. So I'm going to make another video. But yeah, so I hope this video finds you well. And how did you do in school? How were your grades? Did you get good grades? I got good grades, except my senior year kind of fell apart. The second semester really declined, but I got pretty good grades, but my behavior in the classroom in my earlier years was very disruptive, so I did not follow suit. My mom seems like she was she's an introvert, was a very quiet child, I think, and probably sat at her desk and didn't bother anybody because that's just kind of how she is, And so a teacher would probably be like, she's a sweet little girl, where, I was kind of giving the teachers a hard time, I think part of it, like looking back, is I didn't have enough to keep me occupied. And so it was like one teacher put, Laura gets her work done, does a good job, and then disturbs everybody else. Where nowadays, I think teachers are more aware, like, well, maybe Laura should have been given more work, or I could have been the teacher's helper. But they expect you to kind of sit there and wait. And I have always had a hard time sitting and waiting. But yeah. There's medicines for that, right? They put kids on medicines for that. But yeah, I wasn't on any medicines for that. But yeah, I can remember, there was some of us that kind of recess and to be able to run around and just run around crazy outside and get that energy out. But I would get in trouble I can remember fourth grade was awful. Most of the year in fourth grade, I spent inside in detention because I was either talking when I wasn't supposed to or just doing something I wasn't supposed to and getting in trouble. And that teacher, I'll never forget her, but I was stuck inside with her, for recess. And so that didn't really make it better, I think, because I wasn't getting outside to run around and play. I was stuck there. I don't remember right now. I will not, do this or that over and over and over. But once I got out of her class in fifth, sixth grade, and then from that point on, there was no problem. It was like, this teacher, I just honestly felt didn't like me, just as a human being. She just targeted me because I can remember she would be like, Laura, you need to not talk. And it was like, I wasn't the one talking. So if somebody was talking or doing something, she always would target me, and I was talking or doing stuff maybe I wasn't supposed to, maybe 80% of the time, it was me, but the other 20% it wasn't. And that's what I remember. But she's no longer alive. I Googled, to see because it was a small community I was in, and I Googled, and she passed away a long time ago. She was an older teacher when she was my teacher, but she just wasn't, she wasn't nice to me. She's like, I'm not good with names, but I remember her first and last name, and I still remember her face. That's pretty bad, huh? You have a teacher like that. And then I had another teacher, remember her name and first and just a long list of teachers where the ones I remember that were just absolutely awesome and so positive. And I remember this one teacher I had, she would call us her cream of the crop. She would always say, you guys are the cream of the crop. My class is the cream of the crop. She would always call us that. And it was amazing. That was I really started working harder. And then I became even a better student. It was just those positive, affirming words, made a difference for me. Anyway, take care. Drink your water. Watch out. There's a bugs going around. Hoping I don't get bugs, but in the garage cleaning, it's like there's probably bugs in there that are like 60 years old. But anyway, have a good day. Peace.